The Supreme Court hears a case that would determine whether public schools must allow parents to opt their children out of reading any LGBTQ books in class. That's coming up next on Educated.
Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Hello, everyone. I am Katie Petrick, and I am joined by David Fiorazo. Now,
hello.
Before we get started, David, by any metric, public schools are failing our country. Did you know we graduate kids who can't read, write, or do math at grade level? How sad. Freedom Project Academy, though, has perfected online learning for 15 years, offering live, anytime, and homeschool courses for students in pre-kindergarten through high school. Right now, FPA is enrolling students for the fall. Visit freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R school.com, and use the code EDUCATED15 to save 15%. That's EDUCATED15 to save 15% at freedomforschool.com to get started. Now, David, we have matters of worldview to discuss. And who did you discuss those worldview matters with this morning?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for asking. We kicked off this week with a boom with Tony Gurule of Radical Truth. He has a solution to the Islamization in Texas and in America that's taking place. We talked about the expansion of mosques and the expansion of Islam in a red state like Texas, a conservative state like Texas, and also in other parts of the country. So that's today's Worldview Matters, worldviewmatters.tv. All
right, well, SCOTUS. It's all about the Supreme Court today. What is the Supreme Court up to?
They're being supreme. Interesting story, but I love the way this starts out, Katie. I don't really agree with the beginning, and this is over at the Daily Wire. It says, the conservative majority on the Supreme Court indicated that it would side with parents who want the option of keeping their children away from LGBTQ-themed books in schools. First of all, let's stop right there. Just because you keep them away from the books, they're still going to be indoctrinated because it's saturated in every part of the school, not just in the books. But nonetheless, this is the battle with parents. So parents' rights issue, but it's not always a conservative majority. With Roberts, you never know what you're going to get. So this is how it starts off, but we've got a video we're going to play for you, and it's the news story. We'll come back and we'll talk about it.
The Supreme Court heard arguments today over children's storybooks, specifically those including LGBTQ characters.
This was a fascinating case and a really important one because it kind of pits parental rights and religious freedom against this school district's efforts to show diversity in its community, as they put it. So a couple years ago, Montgomery County, Maryland, which is this progressive suburb just north of the nation's capital, introduced this idea of 7 books that were about gay and lesbian and transgender characters and stories. And in the elementary school, the teacher was supposed to pick some and read from them, but parents could opt out, and a lot of them did. Montgomery County is the most religiously diverse county in the country, so they opted out. Then the next year, the school district said, you know what, too many people are opting out. It's not workable, and also we want to promote inclusiveness, so we're going to stop allowing these opt-outs. That's when the real fight began. And a group of parents, religious parents, Muslims, Catholics, Jewish parents, Ethiopian Orthodox, they sued. And so that's the case that made it to the Supreme Court today. They're arguing they have a right to basically practice their religion, and that this is at odds with their religious beliefs under the First Amendment, and that they should be allowed to opt their children out of some of these lessons.
Hey, it's just amazing that we're having these conversations. Parents, should they have the right to opt their children out and have any say what programming goes into their heads? But I do want to say something else at the very top of that report. The most religiously diverse county, I think it said, or school district, county. I think it said county. Yep. That means non-Christian, pretty much. Religiously diverse, it means anything goes except for biblical Christianity. But I'm a little biased when it comes to that worldview issues, you know.
But the thing is, they're allowing the one religion, and that's the religion of the LGBTQ
group.
Like, that's being allowed. It's everyone else that we're against. And it's just, when you can, I missed all of everyone they were naming off, but if you're going to put like all of these religions together and they're all in agreement, and it's the one being the LGBTQ group who's the one they're not agreeing with, what does that tell you about like, maybe we should just go back to teaching like books so the kids can learn how to read? Novel
How about
idea.
critical thinking? Yeah, critical thinking. How about preparing kids for when they get out of school? But again, back to this point, I just want to make sure people understand religious diversity sounds like a good thing. But if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in God and his son, Jesus Christ, and you believe in the gospel that we are saved by faith through Jesus Christ alone, we just celebrated Resurrection Sunday and Easter recently. So if you believe that he is the way to salvation, to eternal life, to heaven, that is exclusive, but he invites everybody, anybody who wants to believe, they can. But yet he is the only way. So all religions can be false, but they cannot all be true. Only one, and that is Jesus. So when you get into diversity, that means you've got to not necessarily tolerate, but that means you've got to allow any view, and they allow things from the occult. They allow witchcraft. They allow, like you said, it's the sex cult of LGBTQ. They allow Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, everything else, and they do teach those things in public schools to some degree. So we're kind of we have to define the terms. So all that based on those two words, religious diversity. And I went off on a soapbox.
There you go. Hey, it's a soapbox that needs to be spouted from. Now, they're talking about, this is not just some parents groups saying, oh, we think these books shouldn't be in our schools. This is all the way up to the Supreme Court. So this is an important case for people to pay attention to, because whatever it is that the Supreme Court is actually going to say will dictate what happens in schools across the nation. All right, so this is an important case. Now, this is the case of, is it pronounced Mohammed versus Taylor? And again, it's Montgomery County, as they were saying, which is, of course, in Maryland, right by D.C., which is just kind of hilarious that it's right in the backyard, basically, of SCOTUS. So it actually started back in 2022 when they approved all these books. And what are some of these books that they are approving? Well, Pride Puppy is one of them. Yeah. Pride Puppy.
Typical.
Oh, look at that. It looks so much fun. I guarantee my daughter would love this because it's rainbow colored. Of course, the kids are probably like, woo, this is great. Well, what is the story of Pride Puppy? Well, it's the story of a puppy, of course, who goes to a pride parade, because every puppy should, but then the puppy gets lost. What are we going to do to find the puppy at the pride parade? And apparently maybe you're just learning how to say your P words. So there's another book that describes the story of a girl attending her uncle's same-sex wedding.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
I mean,
we've done these stories so often on this program, and we understand, most of you viewing the program, you understand that this has been going on for a long, long time. So it's interesting that the Supreme Court is taking this up, and I'm concerned at the same time because I don't see them always leaning conservative. Roberts is one of the issues, but anyway, on this one, they better come out on the side of citizens and parents and people that are concerned about what is being programmed, funneled into their kids' minds and hearts, really.
Yeah, and so specifically with this case, like what has been said so far? Well, oral arguments have been going on, and there's a specific exchange that's kind of wild to listen to, and so you'll get to. And it's an exchange between Justice Neil Gorsuch and Alan Schoenfeld, who is the lawyer for the Montgomery County Public Schools, right? So one of the justices from the Supreme Court discussing having an interaction with the attorney who's on the LGBTQ books need to be in the library or in school side. And we're going to take a listen to this interaction that they had for our good friend Pride Puppy, or Puppy Pride, or whatever that book was called, for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's where that book was found. Pride Puppy was found in the 4 and 5 year olds pre-kindergarten curriculum. Let's just take a listen.
What age do you, in Montgomery County, teach students normally about human sexuality?
I think that it begins in either 4th or 5th grade.
The human sexuality class.
The family life and human sexuality curriculum.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
Starts in 4th or 5th grade, you think?
So.
And second, these books are being used in English class. Some of them.
So Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No.
No?
That's not correct. No.
I read it.
It's a drag queen.
Drag queen and drag
correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is a woman in a leather jacket, and one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those.
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah, okay. You've included these in the English language curriculum rather than the human sexuality curriculum to influence students. Is that fair? That's what the district court found. Do you agree
I
with
think
that?
to the extent the district court found that it was to influence them towards civility. The natural consequence of being exposed.
Whatever, but to influence them.
In the manner that I just mentioned, yes.
Okay.
Civility.
Wow.
That's what your 4 and 5-year-olds need to go toward, civility.
Yes. I mean, there's so much to talk about here, and we don't have enough time. But first of all, the youngest of children, right? We're talking about getting these books in front of them, and whether parents have a say. But the other thing is, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, I have things to say otherwise.
Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead. I'll have to look my note.
bondage, right? So Neil Gorsuch
it's not-
is just
it's
asking.
not bondage.
No, it's not about bondage. Okay. But how dare you, Supreme Court Justice, misrepresent said bondage? It was a leather jacket, okay? My body, my clothing, right? Next thing. There's one word, drag queen. No, it's drag queen's 2 words, lawyer man. And the fact that he doesn't understand, he questioned, I think this sex ed curriculum starts 4th and 5th grade. You're the lawyer standing in front of the Supreme Court. You don't think you would have had that basic information to know when the sex ed curriculum actually starts at that school? This is what this whole case is arguing. You don't think that little fact was going to come up in questioning?
Okay, another takeaway. It just came back to me. Sorry, it's a Monday fog. It just came back to me. This is not in health or sex ed. This is in English class. Did I understand that right,
Correct.
Katie?
Yes, that's it.
So this is what they're doing across the country. There, you may have parents have made some ground when it comes to going to school board meetings and taking things out of the sex ed curriculum. But what about English class? What about all these what about science and biology? They're throwing this stuff, sexuality, into these other classes. So parents, take note.
Yeah, so sex ed class was the one that was always maybe we need to opt our kids out of it. English class, clearly with the books. Science class, are they teaching boys and girls and that's it? Gym class, where are your kids getting dressed to change? Where are they changing for gym class? Every aspect of your kids' education is being infiltrated by this. And if you think that we are all high and mighty on our little soapboxes over here, this is a case being argued in front of the Supreme Court right now.
Yep.
It's clearly happening. It's not just us saying, this is a one-off happening somewhere. This is happening, and it's going to dictate what is going on for years to come.
I do want to give, I'm hard on Justice Roberts, and rightly so for a lot of reasons and a lot of his decisions. But he did say this. Chief Justice John Roberts declared that even if the school did not require students to affirm what is being taught in these books or lessons, that may not be a realistic concept for a 5-year-old. So at least he's saying, all right, even if you're not pushing this, it's still not appropriate, or it may not be appropriate for someone so young.
5-year-old. Absolutely. Well, and
5
we
years old. Oh my goodness.
I
When
have
did
a
we start
5-year-old.
learning about
This is-
sexual things, Katie?
Not that early, I'll tell you that much. But there's
Jeez.
another justice who we need to hear from. Let's take a listen to Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the rapist guy who really wasn't actually one, but he was slandered and then libeled, all of those things. He made a brilliant point basically about this entire scenario.
So again, I think what's in the record is that with respect to these books as they were deployed in the classroom, there was high absenteeism in some schools. For example, dozens of students being opted out in, I think Mr. Baxter said the average size of an elementary school in Montgomery County is 700 students. So each grade is 125. If you have dozens of students walking out, making arrangements for those students to have adequate space and supervision and alternative instruction, I think is infeasible.
But then they do it for all sorts of other opt-outs.
They don't do it for all sorts of other opt-outs. There's a limited universe of things that students can opt out from. The Family Life and Healthy Sexuality curriculum stands alone. It is mandated by the state. It is something where you are able to predict precisely when the curriculum is going to be deployed. There's
It's the most similar substantively to what we have here, and there's an opt-out allowed there. I guess I'm not understanding why Montgomery County School Board stands alone. I guess I'm just not understanding the whole goal, I think, of some of our religion precedents is to look for the win-win, to look for the situation where you can respect the religious beliefs and accommodate the religious beliefs while the state or city or whatever it may be can pursue its goals. And here they're not asking you to change what's taught in the classroom. They're not asking you to change that at all. A lot of the rhetoric suggests that they might have, that they were trying to do that, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're only seeking to be able to walk out so that they don't have to, the parents don't have their children exposed to these things that are contrary to their own beliefs.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. One takeaway right from that, we should get it out of all the schools, out of every class. But he made a very interesting point. They're not asking that. They're just asking to keep their children out of the class. But I believe that should be gone. It's not going to happen. It's so deeply entrenched. What do you think, Katie?
Well, and the thing is, if there are so many parents asking to be opted out of all of the same stuff, if more and more parents asking, when do you take a little introspective and go, well, maybe I'm the problem. So maybe it's the curriculum that's the problem. If that many parents,
if enough parents,
are saying we shouldn't. So we've got a whole lot more to talk about, including this lovely headline. Teachers Union boss Randi Weingarten shares her concern with SCOTUS case on LGBTQ books. Plus, we've got our Babylon Bee headlines to discuss. Back in a moment.
Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central. Starting on Monday, we have Educated. On Tuesday, we have the Dr. Duke Show with Vicki McKenna. Wednesday continues with another episode of the Dr. Duke Show with Dr. Jake Jacobs. Thursday, we have One Nation. And Friday, we wrap up the week with another episode of Educated. Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central.
It wouldn't be a day that ends in Y if we didn't have our bestest, most lovely, I can't even say any adjectives about her. If we didn't have our teacher union mobster boss complaining about pretty much everything. And this time our dear friend Randi Weingarten, president of American Federation of Teachers, of course, is putting in her 50 million cents because she makes $500,000 a year, and that's how $500,000 a year is 50 million cents. Just let's just take a watch.
These are 4 to 6 year olds, and they're being read. And this is out loud in the classroom, not just, oh, this is a book on the shelf in the library. If there's a particular child that, you might want to read this with. But, just as an example, my pronouns are like the weather. They change depending on how I feel. And that's OK because they're my words. Sometimes I use all the pronouns I can think of, just as one example here.
Let me put it this way,
Go ahead.
Martha, and I think that this will be shocking to you. These would not be the books I would be reading as a classroom teacher to kids who are 4 to 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I say this, I went through the New York City public school system. I was a teacher during when we had the big issue around Heather Has Two Mommies. And I think when you don't actually make sure that things are age appropriate and we don't actually have sufficient conversations with teachers and parents in terms of how we accept differences, then you have situations like this right now.
This is the Maryland rankings fourth graders, these same little kids who've had these books, fed to them at a very young age, their reading ranked in 2013, they were second in the nation in Maryland. 2024, 20th. Math, 16th in the nation, plummeting down to 39th. So if I were a parent in this district, I would be saying, please, leave these books out of the picture. Teach my child to read and to do math, okay?
So, yes,
and let's focus on let's focus on why we're there.
Sweetheart, listen to me.
Please don't call me
It
sweetheart.
actually does. I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
I got a couple adjectives, but I'm going to keep them to myself. Oh my goodness.
Sweetheart. Woo. Why would you say
Yeah.
that? That was very fascinating. Now, it was Randy doing Randy-like things. I will say, happy that she at least acknowledged that you should choose age-appropriate books for children, and that she wouldn't have been teaching that. Okay. Thank you, Randy. If you're already, there are so many cracks in, what's happening with these leftists. They're kind of, some of them, when they, actually look at the world the way it, reality, they look at reality, they will acknowledge what is true. But then 2 seconds later, they pull something like, sweetheart, now listen to me, because you're going to turn right back into your leftist speaking points.
How
so I'm like, why, Randy, why? You had a half second of clarity.
Yeah.
Find more of that. But it's Randy.
But I don't want to make too much of the sweetheart, but just that shows you how she perceives herself to be superior.
Absolutely.
And it is belittling, maybe disrespectful, perhaps condescending. But just the fact that she's the educated one, she's going to school this Fox News
Martha,
host. Martha, how you think? Come on, sweetheart. Really,
sweetheart, listen.
So
Linda,
not surprising, disappointing. But I'm wondering if she held something back though when she was talking about that book, Heather Has Two Mommies. I'm wondering how she really reacted. I'm sure we could pull up some tapes of. I believe she probably supported that, but maybe I'm wrong. But we could probably find the tapes that would show otherwise.
Probably right. I think you are absolutely correct. And Randy is just another clown show that we get to hear about. But speaking of that, we have some even funnier headlines than what Randy Weingarten basically talks about on a daily basis, don't we, David?
Awesome. Yes. So before we wrap things up, let's take a look at everyone's favorite satire site, the Babylon Bee.
Here are this week's top 5 Babylon Bee headlines.
Okay, so we picked our favorite. Actually, Katie and I have not seen them. Our producers pick them. We just watch them in real time with you. So you're welcome to comment on these. So let's go. Let's go to the headlines. And let's start with number 1, CNN. Behind closed doors, Pope is still focused, sharp, and energetic.
Oh, man.
My goodness, sorry.
These are going to be about the Pope, aren't they?
Well, maybe.
Are these going to be about the Pope, if that's the first one?
Well, basically, that's what they did with Biden, right? Anyway, he's sharp, focused, and energetic.
Okay,
all right, so I love that one. I don't know if anything can top it, but let's try number 2. Number 2, Catholic Church to consider electing Pope as a Catholic this time. Yes.
As a Catholic, I will have. Okay,
as opposed to a Marxist, you don't want a pro-immigration, pro-choice Marxist in there again.
True.
So let's go to number 3. Next Pope to be chosen via Ninja Warrior obstacle course.
Could you imagine? The pontiff up there. Yeah.
I guess we have a theme going, but this
that's
makes.
Oh no.
That's what the bee does. All right, let's go to number 4. True. False alarm. Smoke coming from Vatican. Just Cardinal Steve accidentally burning toast again. Okay. Number 5. Oh gosh.
No.
Catholic scholars. Come on. Catholic scholars confirm purgatory consists of helping third graders with math for hundreds of years.
Oh, okay.
All right. So.
Okay.
Oh
wow.
my goodness.
I guess we picked a theme this week.
Yeah, and
Yikes.
I've got to go with the first. I got to go with number one, Katie.
You
I'm just
think
going to say because
it is so
anything
good.
where we can really point out the media and their ridiculous hypocrisy and ideology and their leftist support, no matter what, and what they lied about Biden for 4 years. So yeah, I like that. Behind closed doors, the Pope is still sharp, focused, and
Yeah,
energetic.
he's still.
Oh gosh.
Anytime you can
Oh gosh.
combine those, wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that got me. So what's
Ooh.
your favorite? What's your
This
favorite?
is tough because number two, I'm really
Come on.
hoping for. Number two, I'm really actually hoping for that they are going
Yeah.
to.
They really
you know.
pick someone who believes in the doctrines of the church.
I mean, but it could be Cardinal Steve. I mean, everyone likes toast, so maybe he's a man of the people, burning his toast again. Poor
That's
Cardinal
funny.
Steve.
Oh gosh.
I don't know,
So,
but
is that the one you're going with? I don't know. Did you commit? Did
I
you
didn't
commit?
I did not commit.
Oh.
Three's my favorite number, though. Was number three one of them? Did I pick number three? Oh, that's the
Ninja Warrior obstacle course.
Yeah, that's all right. Fine, I'll go number one with you because it was good. It said it all.
Okay.
It said it all.
Yeah. Well, based on what we've just been through up until Trump was reelected,
Mm-hmm.
what they were saying about Biden, it's just really unbelievable what
Well,
the media did.
and-
Knowingly.
And interesting to put it back
Yeah.
with the Pope, with Trump being elected, that's gonna if Harris would have been elected
Ugh.
and the next Pope comes in, I think it would be a different Pope than because Trump's elected. I really do. That's just my gut reaction.
Interesting.
That's just my gut. It's my gut. It's my gut.
Interesting, Katie.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. But hey, maybe we could talk about it. Probably not. On Friday at noon Central, we will be back for another episode of Educated. Now, for David and myself, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting all what we do. Until next time, stay educated.